This is available on YouTube.
It is now.
It is now. Where we're located now.
Worked out for sure. Oh, it isn't.
I think they're gonna fire Aaron Bloomberg.
I think they do the same day. What? Who? What?
Who runs the baseball?
Yeah, no.
I
No, it's about nature.
I knew better than to even mention it to you, Bill. So,
Look, they just need to call Spencer Jones. Nothing.
oh, no, don't be like that. He would not, so.
With, especially with Goldschmidt.
Yeah, he strikes out too much.
Yeah,
They already have that.
Play that much. Say that.
All right.
And at least maybe Spencer will show up at the big game.
Well, on that note, okay, are we all ready to start? Everyone ready? Okay, you guys ready? Tim, you ready? Dave? Okay. Ready? Okay, all right, great. Good evening, everybody. This is the August 14th, 2025 regular board meeting of the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency. So we'll do a roll call first. James Gordon here, Donna Egan, Andrew Giorgi, Erica Brown, Mike Baden, Mark Ryder, here.
Here.
And I will go, since we did not use the mic, Timothy DeGraff is here, Angelina Brandt is here, Tim Wiedemann is here, and Nancy Lamb is here remotely. Let's rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So time for public comment. Please identify yourself if you want to speak, and please keep your comments as brief as possible. So it's already 7:20 something, and we've been here. Please identify yourself, ma'am. I know who you are, but please for the.
Hi, my name is Poppy Cannon Reese, and I just want to say I took Angelina's course on volunteering and recycling and composting, and I thought it was really very helpful. I really enjoyed it. Did a deep dive into textile recycling myself, and learned how to compost. And my one comment is, I think it would be great to have some more information out teaching people how to compost, because a lot of people just think you throw your food waste into a bin and then throw it on your plants, and that's not how it works. So maybe billboards or something. So thank you. That's my comment.
Hey there, Ruben Bouchard. I just wanted to sort of ask the group where we could find out about the status of things in terms of like the recovery center project and all the different things, resource recovery. That's it. Thanks.
As we have updates on projects, they are typically posted to our website. So I would say check there, and we'll make sure that as we're moving through, that we do that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any more public comment? All right. So moving on then to the approval of the agenda. Do any board members have any changes that they would like to suggest for the agenda tonight? Andrew?
Have a spot added where, oh, I'm sorry, the spot added where we get an update on negotiations with the town contracts, because that is at the end of the year and that's ongoing. So if every month we could get, if there's any change, what's going on, what concerns the towns have and so forth. That's all.
Okay, any other board members have changes they would like to see to the agenda? Okay, I'll accept the motion to accept Andrew's suggestion and approve the agenda as modified.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second, please. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so with that modification to update about the town contracts, the agenda is approved. Approval of minutes from July 10th, 2025.
Yeah, I caught one correction on page 7. It's resolution 2651. It dropped the deputy county executive's last name. It just says Deputy Amanda. So it should just add her last name there.
Great, thank you for catching that. Any other comments on it, Donna?
Yeah, I had submitted some, so I don't know. We don't have the,
Nancy had made the one change, which we didn't send back out, but
so
The first
one of them
bullet
I
point.
remember is Laura is not the legislator. So that was one of them. And then I don't remember. the
and
other.
then you asked about it to look at the conversation and it was hard to really understand. I mean, I'll let Nancy jump on. If she wants to talk about the concerns with changing anything in the minutes based on that. I think you were saying it was a one-on-one conversation, right?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Donna, I made your change about Laura Petit and then, but that was, I think, for the Zero Waste Committee. And then I think you said at the end of your, the textile presentation, Tim had handed you a list of those items. I believe that comment was kind of mentioned in the regular board meeting. But it might have been something that maybe was one-on-one because I re-listened to the recording and I didn't hear that section. But then I did make the changes about the Superfund site and the MRDC surveys. I added the one about you had a comment related about receiving feedback, good or bad, so that you can identify the gaps and improve. So I did make that.
And that's
those
the
changes.
one that we're approving right now, but we don't have the
Yeah.
most current one then. So.
Right. We don't have it with those two changes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we don't
the-
have it with those.
So can you just can you read us the changes on yours so we can approve them as amended? Can you read out those changes? One is the legislator.
Yes, let me pull that up. Sorry, 1 second.
That's just two small things. I think it's all right. If she just can read that, those two changes.
I'll see if I can pull it.
And this is the. Oh, that was a zero waste.
Yeah,
Apologies.
that one.
Yeah, all right. Let's go the other one. Oh, so one was kind of a typo, so that's not too important.
Yeah, so yeah, I made the typo change and then I added Donnan right after the paragraph that says Angelina is unable to provide an answer. Angelina proffered that a possible reason why a certain town had more responses could be that the transfer station had a printer since the survey was done at the station. And then I added the comment that you had suggested, which was Donna Egan commented that when conducting surveys, she believes it would be beneficial to receive all feedback, the good and bad, so that the agency can identify gaps to improve. So that sentence I added
Okay.
per your suggestion.
Thank you.
And then, oh, no problem. And then the other one was a typo, so I fixed the typo for that.
No, because this is a zero waste, so we're not on that one right now. You're looking at the wrong one.
Oh,
Yeah, you're looking at the wrong one. Sorry, I confused you. I confused everybody with that, so I apologize.
all right. So
So it's just the fixing of the spelling of site.
Oh, yeah, because
Yep.
the.
We already approved it.
And then what?
Yeah,
Right,
yep.
okay.
So I'll,
With
Did
those
it-
changes,
did somebody make a motion already?
well, no, that's what I was going to call.
Oh, okay.
We're on the regular board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to clarify, the change that I mentioned was the regular board meeting, because I thought that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. That's what we're
Yeah,
talking about.
okay.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
did remove, it says Laura Petit, Ulster County Legislature, so we removed Ulster County Legislature.
And that is from the zero.
That's from the regular,
Oh, okay, all right,
yeah, so, because she's not on,
all right. So we will strike that. Okay, so are we all clear on what we're approving now? We're approving with the changes, we're approving the regular, the minutes from the regular July 10th Resource Recovery Agency meeting. With that in mind, I'll accept a motion to accept those minutes
yeah, I'll make that motion as amended.
as amended. Yes, thank you. All in favor?
I'll second that. You gotta
Okay.
get a second, so I'll second it.
Okay, great. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, so that is approved. Thank you, everybody. All right, so communications and announcements. The regular board meeting is scheduled for September 11th, 2025 at 6:15 PM. I will be unable to attend that meeting because I will be away. And so Donna is going to chair that meeting, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Donna. The Zero Waste Committee meeting is scheduled for September 11th, 2025 at 5:15 PM. Any other communications or announcements?
We
So
want to adjust the time a little bit, so, I mean, you're not gonna be here. Okay. Skip it. Skip it. Skip it.
we can look at that because I was gonna ask for you to make one quick amendment when it comes to the resolution for setting the budget, to add a resolve that you are setting a public hearing, or public comment, a public hearing on the proposed budget on September 11th. Because it's required under our contracts with the towns that we provide 20 days notice for a public hearing, and it would make sense to do it at the next board meeting. But we'd have to look at what those times, maybe if Zero Waste could be slightly shorter, and we could start the public hearing at 6 and then the regular meeting immediately after. But that's when we get to that resolution, so
Yeah, but just a question, do we need to adopt that before we vote on the budget?
it would be part of the budget.
I mean, do we
resolution.
need to hear the
So
public
you
hearing?
just start putting, this resolution is setting a draft agency budget.
Okay,
Then you have the public hearing, and then in October, you'll finalize it. And there may be those slight changes that Tim was talking about. Yeah.
Then the public. Okay, thank you. So, so we'll take that time change up when we do okay, great. All right. So general reports. Any committee or official meeting reports by board members that they want to bring to our attention? No? Okay. So the recycling program update, Angelina?
Just, actually, I wasn't, do we has the Recycling Oversight Committee met? Like, have they met or anything? Does it exist anymore? Does it exist anymore?
I know they were adding members.
Okay,
They added members.
okay. Okay, just curious. Cool.
Thank you, Chairman. In July, we celebrated Plastic Free July, which is a global movement encouraging people to use less plastic. On social media, our Plastic Free July campaign was very extensive, and our radio ads that month all featured a Plastic Free July message. One of our master composter recycler volunteers, Nicole, facilitated some interviews for blogs on our website and spoke with members of Beyond Plastics and a local group, Citizens Concerned About Plastic Pollution, or CCAP, to highlight more ways that citizens can get civically engaged in reducing plastic pollution. Beyond our advertising campaigns, our recycling outreach team was very busy. We responded to 433 phone calls, or 16 hours on the hotline in July. We participated in a radio interview in Spanish on La Voz con Marie Fiori to talk about home composting. And I want to thank my colleague, Angel Delgado, our operations manager, for her time to help lead that interview in Spanish. I hosted a facility tour for the United States Composting Council and their Research Education Foundation, hosting guests from all over the country, believe it or not, who are training to become compost site operators. The group also visited the Community Compost Company, the Rockland County Solid Waste Management Authority, and McEnroe Farms. And again, I want to thank our operations team who facilitated an equipment demonstration for this group so we could show off our new bagging machine. Our recycling outreach team hosted an informational meeting for town transfer station operators, along with Mark and my colleague Robert. There were 7 attendees from 5 towns represented, and we heard about their challenges and their successes before heading into the educational and informative content throughout the presentation. We asked, what aspects of your municipal recycling program are working well, and what are your greatest challenges? And the attendees had very similar responses, noting that their challenges remain to be that staffing is very low, sometimes with 1 employee. Plastic recycling is extremely confusing and requires a lot of education, especially to in-surges of new residents from out of town. And that instructional signs are often ignored, even when they are posted and very large and prominently displayed. But attendees also had very similar things to say in terms of what is working well. Personal contact and giving that personalized guidance to each and every customer is necessary, and people really appreciate that. And it's especially effective when that's done with kindness. Our dual stream recycling guide is a good resource. We heard from people who are handing those out to help diffuse irate customers who are unsure about plastic recycling. Making creative displays of the do's and don'ts of recycling seem to be helpful. And I just wanted to also note that we did provide new signs to all of the town transfer stations just a couple of years ago. And then lastly, one attendee noted that they participated in one of our Recycle Right classes, and that helped build their knowledge and their confidence to talk with people on a deeper level about the why. Why isn't more plastic recycled correctly? All in all, very robust conversation followed by really great presentations. And we will be hosting a Recycle Right class and a facility tour open exclusively to town transfer station employees in early September. And all the towns were notified of this, along with the meeting resources and the minutes. And all of that's available to you as well. Other events we attended, the New Paltz Repair Cafe, Ellenville Farmers Market, and the Ulster County Fair. Collectively, those programs reached 299 adults and 112 children in July through 42 hours of direct face-to-face education. The Ulster County Fair did bleed into the first week of August, but when we look at our fair booth only, we reached 748 adults and 340 children, which is a huge increase from last year. Fair goers again shared questions about our most commonly asked questions, a lot of enthusiasm to grow local composting throughout the county, and shared a lot of praise for our services and specifically our compost product. Above all else, it was really great just to have that awareness and that presence in the community, and we celebrate each and every interaction, long or small, for getting our mission out in front of everyone. So I just want to thank all of our staff and our volunteers. It was really all hands on deck, making the fair a wonderful experience for us all. Lots of photos in your packet this week. I'd love your feedback if you enjoy looking at those or other examples of new resources. The media content attached at the end is an update to a flyer that we had produced a couple of years ago. We call the 7 R's to reducing waste, but I also like to call it our multi-flyer. And the concept behind that is to have as many programs on one piece of paper as possible. So if someone walks away with only one piece of paper, they're going to learn a lot by that one media piece with a lot of access to links on our website and whatnot. So that's available now in English and Spanish. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? I want to commend you on this. This handout is excellent. Has a lot of really good information on both sides. It's double-sided, and I like the fact that it's in English and you can also get it in Spanish. So very nice. Yeah. I don't see Tim. Oh, you see Mark had you blocked. There you go. So you want to step up, please, Tim? Thank you. And thank you, Angelina.
All right, so I'm just going to go through my full reports that I always do. So the first one, it's this fancy blue color, the tonnages. MSW for the month of June, 8,826. The amount that we were targeting for that month, or we budgeted for that month, was 9,539. So we were under what we were hoping for by 713 tons. C&D, 3,346 came in. Our target was 3,180, so we're actually over that number by 167. And sludge was off by 94. I have no idea why. Usually we're within, a load or two, 30 to 60 tons one way or the other. It might have just been a day dropped off because we only take sludge on Tuesdays and Fridays. So maybe there was one less working day, compared to the prior year. So year to date, we are off our target on MSW and C&D by 2,279 or 3.4%. And as I had stressed when we were talking about the budget, that leaves us around 137,000 to estimate the rest of the year if we keep on those numbers. The next report, the mint green page, is our recycling tonnages. It just continues what I've said every month. Our recycling volumes have been pretty consistent from month to month that you'll see. So I don't really have any items of note there. Our food waste is at just under 2,800, which we monitor, but hopefully we won't have to monitor that in a couple months. The next report is our MRF cost center analysis. So we had a rough month, and we tend to see in months where we just sell our cardboard and our mixed news that this happens. And as I've always said in the past, when it comes to our MRF P&L, while we do it monthly, right, I've got expenses in here of people working up on the sorting line. And what are they sorting? Mostly the plastic, right? Well, we don't sell the plastic. So you have expenses that aren't really being applied to the revenues every single month. So you always kind of have to look at it on a whole. And I say that because in combination with what I just said about having a rough month, only selling the OCC and the mixed news, if you compare that to the 2 months we sold the large plastic loads, January and May, you'll see that we have pretty good months, especially May. So the rest of June, so our total sale of recyclables was only 26,660 for June. And then our residuals and our glass recycling expense was 10,894, which gave us net revenues of 15,766. And then on the expense side, and just so you know, on the far left, I like to put the little monthly average there. Our expenses are still pretty much not too far off with what our recent 3 years monthly averages were. So for the month of June, our total personnel and operating was 55,913. So we suffered a net loss for the month of 40,147. Our year to date is a net loss of 121,777. And as I always state every month, if we were charging a tipping fee, our break-even tipping fee would be that bottom right-hand corner number of $47.18 a ton. If you want to take a look at the recycling market graph, you'll see I keep mentioning the fiber over and over again. You'll see that it's kind of flattened out for the last half of the year. That's where we are. Will it pick up? It'd be nice. But as far as the budget goes, I kind of left it consistent, volume consistent, and the expected rate consistent. Does anyone have any questions before I go to the treasurer's report? What, on the glass? The only spike we had was on the glass. That was the year that that was a month where we had the load that they tested for us to get rid of for free, and the load didn't get rejected. They kind of rejected continuing to take it. So they were high expectations, I guess, of the clean glass. So, and that's the town glass, which is much, much cleaner than the other stuff that's becomes residual at the back of our MRF. So our treasurer's report for the month of June, line item of note for the revenues, we received MWR money for a skid steer and 5 recycling glass containers from 2019. We received that funding. So that revenue was 48,959. This year, especially, would you say the last 6 months, right, Ange and Mark, because they have to sign the contracts and Angie reviews the contracts, they've really picked up last year, I don't know if you guys remember last year, there was, like, we weren't getting payments. There was a real lag. They were changing systems, yada, yada, yada. And, but they've really picked up their payments. It seems like we get emails, every month to a month and a half that a new contract is rolling through. So that's a good thing. Our total revenues for the month is $1,953,361. Down on the expense side, our June HHW was $38,052. And under CLF monitoring and maintenance, 15,985. That related to Ulster and New Paltz landfills needing pump installs, and the trash pump as well. As you guys know from earlier in the year, we've had some issues at the Ulster landfill with pumps and control panels going down that we had to replace. And that's part of our leachate collection system. So that's all DEC compliant stuff that we have to get repaired. Total operating expenses for the month, $1,787,929, gave us net operating revenue before capital outlay of a positive $165,432. Our new tractor and as I had mentioned earlier, the New Paltz perimeter road, those two costs totaled $199,094 for the month of June. So we did have a deficit of $33,662. Our year-to-date is a surplus of $66,201. And I think July is actually, while tons were down in July, I think from a treasurer's report standpoint, I think we had a good July though. So.
Any questions of the treasurer's report?
Sorry.
Any questions for the treasurer's report? All right, I'll accept a motion then, please, to accept the treasurer's report. Okay, second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the treasurer's report? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Thank you, Tim. Now on to the executive director's update.
I'm sorry, I did not get this into your board packets. It is my intention every month to have it a week ahead of time, but I'll just run through a few things. Stakeholder meetings. So as I do every month, I attended the Town Supervisor Association at the July meeting. The main topics that were discussed relative to the agency were their concern about increased tipping fees and the cost of operations for them to do reuse and compost at the MRDCs. And that was brought up by the fact that we were asking them to sign letters of support for the DC grant application that we submitted in partnership with the county. In the end, we ended up receiving 12 letters of support to submit with the grant application. I mean, that includes also the assembly member and senator. And so not all, I think probably 9 of those were from towns, or 8, and we got a couple from school districts. And so still a decent amount of support from the towns for that grant.
Before you move on, have we let the towns know that we're going to hold them harmless this year?
I did. So I sent an email because they were starting to ask questions about the budget and the workshop. And so I did send them that we were proposing to you all to do that. Very few questions back. I have talked to a few folks who plan on sending in letters supporting that idea when it comes to a public hearing, public notice period. So I attended the August meeting of the Energy and Environment Committee. The contract came up for discussion. Clearly, nobody is happy with the contract. I don't think the agency nor the legislature, either side, really. As many of you have seen, I sent you the letter from the 3 members of the Republican caucus. I would be happy to go back and forth on some of the points they made, but don't feel the need to do that. I think you all can read it and know what is true and untrue in those. Some of it's just a misunderstanding. What was in the original, I mean, some of the things that they were talking about were literally original contract language. And so it was postponed And so I'm gonna ask you to do the same with the resolution. We can talk about and get legal advice from council on the contract and how we want to move forward in executive session. I've held 2 town hall style meetings on the present and future of solid waste. We held an event in Ellenville, which was attended by over 30 people. Bobby was in attendance. I thought it went very well. I thought the conversation was productive and positive overall. Jim also joined that meeting. We had an event in Shungum last night. It had no members of the public in attendance, but thank you, Andrew, for coming out, and legislator Kevin Roberts came, and he did. Yeah. So when you left, we lost 50% of our audience, and then when he came back, that 50% came back. So other than Andrew and legislator Roberts, Kyle from the Wallkill Valley Times was there. So looking forward to seeing that article. I gave a presentation to a mostly empty room, but wanted to give it to him. So he has some good questions. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at, I have no more scheduled. I do plan on, like, the goal was 1 in Ellenville, 1 in Shungum, 1 in New Paltz, 1 in Saugerties, and 1 in Olive to try to hit every stretch of the county. I'm starting to think, I definitely want to keep the 1 in New Paltz. I want to shift the one from Saugerties down to Kingston, I think, and maybe Rosendale, but I think having 1 in Kingston would be good. And then also still have 1 out in the Olive area, but these might stretch more into the fall. My goal is to finish them in the summer. They take a lot of work to prepare for and do. So, and then next year we'll just keep it going. I mean, I know I got an email from Donna or text, I don't remember which, but about Plattekill, and we're happy to add those on. The goal was to this first batch to be regional. And so like for the Shungum one, I invited people from Plattekill, Gardner, and Shungum. Sent it to a lot of various committees, and
if you didn't send me the notice, I wouldn't have known about it. So
Yeah.
as a member of the public, I don't know that it got out. I did spread it around to various pages, but I don't know. We got to work on our communication, I think. Communication campaign.
Still think summer is a hard time. It's a nice night. They might be like, garbage or the garden. We know where they're gonna go.
we have some good ideas on further communications on how to get more people out. So we're going to work on that for the next one.
Ice cream truck.
Saugerties, it's easy.
I think we have an idea that will bring a few more people out, but I don't. Leachate collection. SCS will present their report to the board in September. I got the draft report late last week. I haven't even looked at it yet, but we'll get it out to you next week, and then they will come in and present. I do want them to add in more. They gave us a draft presentation, and I wasn't like thrilled with it. In a lot of ways, there wasn't as much details on treatment of PFAS that I wanted. And I connected them with a consultant and also the people who worked at the Hurley pilot. So I really want to go and in fairness to them, in the original scope of the RFP, because it wasn't on our radar as much, that was not part of their project. They were treatment of PFAS. It was more like, how are we going to deal with leachate better than trucking it to Kingston from New Paltz and Ulster, because the I don't want to say tonnages, but the amount of leachate was so high with the rains. And so one reason I do think that the New Paltz one is down is that we've added kind of some culverts. When they've done that road project, they've kind of created more of a bank. So runoff from, there's like a dam that's owned by the town up above the landfill, and it runs off and into some storm pipes right into basically the membrane of the landfill. So when we created that road, that has caused some embankment to run on the other side and off. So Repower project, we can discuss in executive session. We have a few options that I need to get, talk about. County contract, again, we discussed that already. Permit modification, so big news. On July 15th, we're sending notice of complete application. This began a 30-day notice period, although they had to put it in their state register. So they did that on 7/22. So the 30-day public notice period ends, public comment period ends on 8/22. They will then have 90 days to approve or deny the permit modification. I believe it'll happen sooner. I've been told as such that they will try to turn it around as soon as whatever they hear, assuming that, you know, there was no detrimental comments, that they would work on it. I am happy. I would prefer a nice Labor Day, but I hope not. So the evaluation committee for the RFP for diversion and alternatives is set to meet August 25th to discuss the 7 proposals. Committee will select proposers for an initial interview with the evaluation committee, and then we'll come up with a list of proposers for the board to interview for a final decision. So I don't want to set a number that I think will come out of the committee. But you know, whoever we feel strong after the interview process will get recommended to the board.
Is that open to the public or other board members to listen in on?
It is not. It is not open to the public, and we cannot have the involvement of a third board member, which is why it was set up this way. Otherwise,
Even if it's a call-in, a Zoom?
they won't be on Zoom. This is not public meetings, and having a third board member, even on Zoom, would make it an actual quorum.
Will we be provided with some type of summary?
Yes, that will all be public. And the scoring and everything that gets you to that stage, and at that point, the proposals as well, redacted with proprietary confidential information. And that's it. Happy to take questions.
Town hall in Kings, oh boy.
Yeah, take that one. It's right there.
If you do a town hall in Kingston and you do want it like live streamed somewhere, maybe to the UCRRA website, just contact me and we'll get Radio Kingston on that. And then you can have it recorded and post it to the website as well, potentially.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The RFP, the estimated cost, was that included in the budget as an expense line?
No, because so no matter what is chosen by the evaluation committee and then the board, none of these projects are going to happen in 26. Okay. So the other thing is the way that the RFP requested the funding was through a feedstock agreement. And so it's a per ton basis, and it would just be in the operational cost. But I'm not even sure if it would be 27, honestly. These are, they will have to get permitted. Yeah.
Any other questions on the executive director's report?
I just had one. We had a really successful turnout with the Ulster County Fair. I wonder if it might be a good idea to think about maybe doing something like the Garlic Festival. When you were talking about Saugerties, popped in my head. Admittedly, it's a lot of people from outside the county, but it's also a lot of people from the county.
One of the priorities we've had as we've tried to gear up volunteers is to be at any large gathering. Now, the way it's worked out with staffing, and I'll just say, like, we're starting to get up to full phase, but remember, so like we didn't have a administrative assistant on the recycling outreach team, and then we brought someone in, and then we lost our educator, and then we brought on an educator, and then we lost our administrative assistant. So we're back up to a full team, and now we have our third set of volunteers. But my goal coming in, and as we look at having a full team for a full year, is to identify, like, this weekend is the Caribbean Festival in Kingston. Would love to be there. It's just about bandwidth. And so the fair was like an all of team effort every day. And so we had multiple staff members there every single day. And so, but the goal is to get to all the, it's not just to be at the Earth fairs. It's not just, it's to be where everybody is. Like, so the Garlic Festival, I will say we are in conversations with both the town and the organizers of the Garlic Festival. It looks like we will probably be handling the waste at that festival this year, which is a change. The contract was up for the other vendor, and it looks like we are taking that on. So we will have a presence at some point there. I just don't know about a booth.
Like every town has, yeah, every town has a town day, you know, and that's, you get, I mean, that's a lot. You know, our town has, it'd be great to have a box, you know, you could almost give to a local, like a climate smart community, let them have a banner, a runner, and some flyers or something like that. Something you could have 10 of them.
We do, so if a festival reaches out to us, and we cannot, and we've done this for Platico, and we cannot fulfill the request to send actual staff or volunteers and have our own booth, we have a media kit box that we offer to all of them to put out our flyers and information. We can say, yep, just talk to me up.
Okay. Any last chance? Any more questions for after the executive director's report?
I love it. Point. I'd be happy to read it. Read it, or should we read it? Yeah, summarize it. Did you read it ahead of time? I did, but I won't read it.
I don't know that we necessarily need to read it, but I'm glad you brought it up. As usual, Robert has done an excellent job presenting. Is it on our website? Could this be on our website if people are interested? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And at a certain point, when he's ready, or if the board is ready, we will ask him to appear before us so we can ask questions about this. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe in October, because I won't be here next, does that sound good?
Yeah.
My big question though is, our tonnages are going down, and is it going out of the county? Like, where's it going?
No, I don't think MSW is going anywhere. Orange County, Sullivan County, other regional partners are feeling the same effects. I think C&D could be going to, which would be legal, and there's not much we can do about it. There are other transfer stations, and there are other transfer stations down in Orange County that are private. We have one near us that's private. We have a few in the county. People could be going there, which is, again, the risk when we get too high with the tipping fee, but we're meeting our expenses with our revenues. So, but I think this is an economic downturn. The building that you look at is not having some areas like New Paltz, right? There's a housing project popping up there every few months, it feels like, but the rest of the county, I would say, is like. But MSW is down, and I think that's just, again, Tim said it's a course correction from post-COVID. I mean, pre-COVID, from our pre-COVID numbers. So we're getting back to where we were. I would love to say that our diversion efforts and our recycling outreach has driven it,
The
but
metrics don't support that, but is his primary focus, or is it 50-50 on recycling compliance or flow control or mix, or how do you guide him in that regard?
I would say both, but more of his time is spent on recycling compliance. But he'll follow them like certain haulers to make sure that they're not heading out of the county, and that if he sees one out, he'll go check our records to ensure, because if a hauler's out on a certain day and we have their plate number, they should be coming to us that day. It's not like the hauler is leaving their truck filled with garbage. So he does do checks to ensure when he's out on the street and sees a hauler and has the plate number that they came in and saw us, or they came first thing that next morning.
I think I saw on his report there was one unpermitted hauler coming in. Like, why do we allow them to come in if they're not permitted to come in? Like, I don't understand. To me, it's like super black and white. You don't have a permit, you can't come here, you can't go anyplace else. Like, that's like, it's easy one. So
Well, so that they are dumpster rental company, right? And they don't require an MSW permit if they're doing that. It was just discovered by us that they were taking over, I believe it was, I got to reread the report, but one of the haulers had a drop in tons. And so they sold some route to this other, what before that was just one of the roll-off companies. And so we're not going to turn away the roll-off business because they don't need to be licensed haulers to be a roll-off company. It's just flow control MSW. The roll-off companies could be C&D, right? So you have to qualify as a flow control hauler. They just didn't turn in an application. We started down that path with them. They decided they didn't need to because they weren't technically flow control haulers. But then when we found out that they were taking curbside waste, he started to reach out about the application.
Wouldn't you use the Board of Health to enforce that? Because they have to give the permit, and they seem to have more, the Board of Health inspectors seem to have more enforce than we do.
No, I mean, our compliance and Robert has just as much force as they do. And honestly, I've talked to some folks over there that used to be here, and they basically said they check to make sure they have a broom on site. So.
All right, so let's move on to resolution. Resolution 2651, approving the service agreement between Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency and Ulster County. I believe we're going to hold on that. Right, okay. All right, the term is take no action. I don't have any comment on that. Okay. All right, so resolution 2654, authorizing and approving revisions to agency procurement policy. We all got a copy of the procurement policy. Mark, you want to discuss it? Anything you want to say about it?
So Nancy helped a lot with this, fixing the typos and other things that I had the mistakes that were in my previous draft. So we started from there, and then honestly, I took a lot of the sections that Ulster County Purchasing Department has in their procurement manual for sustainability, and the parts that applied to the agency. I added into here because I had heard from the board that you didn't want to approve the procurement policy and then approve a green procurement policy secondarily. So that's where we're at here. And I think that this helps bring our procurement policy into the 2000s. Not even 2020s, but it's been a while. I mean, it's been modified a few times, but not any major changes, and not since 2020. So.
I'll ask one question. On the green stuff, thank you for adding that, because I think that was important to put that in there. But normally I've seen that there's maybe it seems like if you have anything that you can call green, then all bets are off on the procurement policy. Usually it says, and I might have read that wrong because I read it quickly, but usually says if there's a certain threshold, if it's within 20% or something like that. But does ours say that in there, or it just says, hey, if you meet these criteria as a green or sustainable product, then you can charge us whatever you like. So that's was my only thing I think I missed or I didn't notice.
So there is a section that talks about practicability. So it means the product or service is satisfactory in performance, readily available, and priced comparably to alternatives when considering life cycle costs. So if it's outside of those ranges, then based on the definitions, then we are able to make an exception. So there's also in C, the exception. So the product is not available competitively. There is not a set threshold that it has to meet 15%, or because I know what you're talking about. I've seen 15%, I've seen 10%, I've seen 20%, but that's all going to differ based on the product. A higher price product that can be a smaller threshold. Whereas if it's copy paper, toilet paper, or whatever, and it's a lower price product, 10% is probably not going to be enough of a difference to actually make, you'd want that threshold to be 20% or 25%.
I just had one quick question. Is there anywhere in here that it's, and I haven't found it yet, that it's subject to inclusion in the budget or some type of language like that? So to make sure that some department head isn't buying 10,000, a $9,999 item, that the budget line has $1,000 in it or something like that. I'm just curious if there's a general statement that it has to be part, because I'm used to that with the municipalities. We had a clause that the purchase had to, even if the purchase was allowed without quotes, it had to be subject to budgeted amendment. So that's my only thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it's slightly different because you're looking at it from a municipal budgeting perspective versus an agency. What is the term that you like to use, Tim?
Well, budgets are really forecasts and estimates as opposed to your municipal budgets, right? You set appropriations. We don't have to do that because think about it from the standpoint of our tonnages are off right now. Should we go through and adjust all of our budget lines down because of that? So it's really more of, are we meeting our revenue expectations? Or if we are going over an expense, why did that happen and how can we adjust it? Because we have actual expenses that occur, whereas opposed to a municipality, right? You're providing services. Sometimes you're restricted in what you can buy, right? If you have, say, a sewer fund or a lighting district or that type of stuff, or we don't have to deal with that. We're specifically a proprietary fund for a reason, business type activities. So I don't think that's necessary. I understand what you're saying for sure, but I think then you'd have to adjust, like I said, all the budget lines and then.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looking at this, I think it's very practical. I think it's a good update. I want to thank the board because again, and I'm not the board, the staff, because again, it's a lot of work to do this. We see it at this part where all the work is for the most part done, pending our comments. And a lot of work went into this, and it's I think it's a very practical document. I think it's updating our procurement policy very well. And so I'm in favor of approving this. But yeah, go ahead. I was going to give.
I'm looking at a documented good faith effort shall be made to obtain the required number of proposals or quotations. Is there somewhere that we have those numbers documented as required?
So when you go back to page 3, so then you have the prices for quotes. So anything over 20,000, we have to go out to sealed bids. So that's going to be an RFP no matter what on commodities and equipment's goods. For public works, anything over 35. Up to those thresholds, so up to 5,000 awarded at discretion of the director, executive director. Up to 9,999 awarded at the discretion of the executive director. When we have minimum 3 written quotes, that's when it's talking about good faith effort. So if we reach out to 5 companies and 3 of them submit back no bids, and we can show that we've made the good faith to get the more than 3 quotes, that's what we're talking about. We do. Yeah.
I just noticed the 13C says minimum 3 written quotes, and 14B says 3 vendors submitted written email or facsimile. Probably the 13C should match the 14B because email or facsimile are now considered the same as written. So, but just to clarify.
Yeah, we can. I can match that. That's fine.
It's the same thing, it's just more specific.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so in other words, you want to just say.
We're going to add email
No, they all should say.
or
Okay, all right. So rather than 13C, you say just change the language.
Yeah, just take the
So
language.
13C is going to say minimum of 3 written email or facsimile price quotes. I don't know if I even have a fax machine, but I think I might.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of people because of.
I just want to add to that because sometimes we can get quotes right through looking on the internet, the different companies, and I'll print out the pages or whatever. Can we include that as part of it too? Okay. And we do have a fax machine.
That would be a ring.
And it's all documented.
If you're printing it out, it's right.
Yeah, it's still written.
Good question. Other questions or comments on this?
Did I answer yours?
I clearly did not read the above. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at it so many times and just didn't read.
Okay, all right.
More questions? I will entertain a motion.
Sorry, just one more quick.
Sure.
So we don't take verbal quotes at all. And that's a good thing.
We could
Yeah,
up
no,
to
I like that we
5,000. No, I
don't.
mean, but like, so 0 to 5,000
Well,
awarded
that's
at
up
the
to the
discretion.
different.
So
Understood.
that could be a verbal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's at the discretion, yeah.
Right, yes. I will entertain a motion to accept resolution 2654 as modified by the discussion.
I would like to make that motion to approve
Okay,
resolution
thank you.
2654.
A second, please.
I'll second.
Great. Okay. All in favor of approving resolution 2654 as modified during the discussion? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, thank you. Great. Resolution 2659, authorizing draft 2026 agency budget.
So as discussed, I would like to just ask that you amend the resolution to include a resolve that says resolve the board is hereby providing public notice that there will be a public hearing on the budget on September 11th at 6 p.m.
Any objections to that? In other words, we're adding a public hearing into this.
Should we do it just right at 6:15 so we don't impede on her?
Do you want,
6 is okay? Okay, yeah.
and then we can keep the regular board meeting at 6:15
Okay.
or immediately following the public hearing. In
We
the
should
past,
probably say
15
immediately
minutes.
following the public hearing in case it runs.
I think we
long.
have to do
Yeah.
15 minutes. And so then
Yeah.
the reason we say or immediately, so
Right.
6:15 or
Or
immediately
the
following,
public
is
hearing.
that it could be later, but it could not be before 6:15.
Correct. I'll make that motion as amended.
Of the amendment?
Yeah, of the.
amended.
just As amended.
resolution.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Sorry, so who moved the resolution, Mike? And then Andrew seconded? So we just passed 2659 as amended? Okay.
And then, we voted on it. Yeah. No, we approved it. We approved it as amended. Yeah. Well, it's the, as it says, it's the draft agency budget. Yeah, it says right on it, it's the draft agency budget. Okay, okay, and then resolution 2660, approving the draft capital plan. Why do I not? Well, unless Mark has anything he wants to say. Okay, all right, I'll accept a motion on that. We discussed it in the
Yeah.
workshop.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, great, either way. Thank you, and all in favor? Aye. Well, yeah. All right, so opposed, abstain, okay, so that draft also passes. Great, thank you, everybody. And resolution 2661, the tipping fee schedule for 2026. Any,
I'll make the motion. I did have one quick question though. So
Okay,
once
all right,
we
so we'll
get, once we get a second.
get a second? Okay, great, all right, discussion?
Should we include on that schedule the fee for the MRDCs or is that a bad idea? Okay, we'll do, that's a fine answer.
Great, okay. All right then. All in favor of resolution 2661? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, thank you. All right. Moving on to discussion on County Code 304, solid waste recycling.
Yeah, Andrew had asked and I offered, I took a look through, I made some minor changes that probably council should look at about the fine fees. What I did is basically looked at the time frame that they were adopted and looked at the increase in the cost of living for that same time period and use that as a basis. In most cases, it went up about 200 to 250%. Whether those are legal or not, that's a question for council to look at. I caught that two definitions were really generic and I copied the state's definitions into the code. And I shared the red line with everybody. So there's other things we could change policy wise, but I didn't, I feel comfortable making those recommendations. So I kind of did the boilerplate. These are the things that probably we should consider recommending that the legislature look at, because some of those sections are 25 years old, others are 15 years old. But if we want to change any of the other stuff, we probably should have a dialogue about that at some point. Like, should we consider C&D, flow control or anything like that we've kicked around, so.
So if I understand you've redlined the basics and anything further, you think the board should have a discussion and then a dialogue with the county legislature?
I think the board should have a discussion and then we should make forward a single document to the county with these are the, that we should vote on these recommendations and then send it to the county. and say, we'd like to make these recommendations. Because the code actually clearly states that we are supposed to be a partner in creating this code. So, which we have been on various items, but I think Andrew's point is well taken, that it's piecemeal and outdated, and it's time to just do a cleanup of it.
So do you think we should proceed by having council work on what you've done so far?
I would say.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay.
That's
So
what I was gonna say, is that at this point, you need to have the executive director, because he knows every aspect of everything with council. And I was looking more at enforcement, different, I had written down what I was doing, but the enforcement part, when I read it as a layman, it's very unclear, but if there's ways that the agency working with the compliance officer feels, so we should change this law because we've seen in the past that it doesn't work, we can that kind of fine tune it. I don't know how to do it because I'm not sure of all the different aspects, but that's what I'd like to see happen, so that we have more support from the county in enforcement of the law, so that we can get this done, get to what they want us to do. I mean, they want to be a part of our agency. Well, this is the best way to do it, is to make things clear so that we can work together with them enforcing and compliance.
Mark, okay.
So before September's meeting, I'll sit down and maybe, I mean, so that all 5 members, maybe we'll really look at October, but I'll sit down with Nancy, we'll go through it. I'll sit down with Robert to see what he would also recommend, and the other directors as well. And the directors, I should say. And then at that point, bring it back to you all for a vote and to see if there's any other recommendations. And then I would encourage us to submit that to the Energy and Environment Committee and have a couple of board members attend that meeting with me to go over through why we're making these recommendations.
There are some major policy things that we need to discuss. So flow control on C&D and recycling, that's huge. That would be a huge change. But if we're going to make the changes in this, recommend changes, that should be considered pretty seriously before we propose it.
Yeah, so if we, I will not be here for September, so if we shoot for the October meeting for at least a preliminary discussion, see how far we get, and if we're comfortable, but when we're comfortable, then we will forward it to the county, but not until then. Okay, all right, so thank you, by the way, Andrew, and thank you, Mike, for taking that on. I know it's a lot of work, and I certainly appreciate it, and I appreciate, the staff taking it to next step and then bringing it back to us.
No, I emailed it to you, and I respond. Yeah, there's an email in the thread there. It's in there somewhere, and I just did it as a PDF and shared it. If you want it in Word, I can send it to you in Word. Yeah.
Okay. So now on to new business. Shall we update the town contracts first? You have any update on that you want to discuss?
So once we have gotten through this budget piece, then I have not started negotiating with the towns. They are aware that I anticipate putting in language in the contracts that they will use their best efforts at diverting food waste and reusable goods. Ideally, that would be partnering with us to set up both a spoken hub system for each of those. If they choose not to go with that, then that's fine. They'll just need to prove to us that they're making their best efforts to do those things. But we're not going to meet the goals of diverting 100% organic waste by 2030 as set forth in Executive Order 1 of County Executive Metzger, which is an aspirational goal for us and also not one we're bound to, but I think one that the board feels is important from past conversations. And if we're putting forth the Reuse Innovation Center, the Repower project, we need partners. And so I think we are leaning forward in our partnership with them by setting a different tipping fee for the municipalities, and hopefully we see some in-kind response.
Any other questions on that topic? All right, so let's, mattress recycling.
Going back probably 3 months, 4 months now, I had received, and I know Donna, this is yours, so but I'm just going to give you a quick update, and if you have anything else. I got quotes from the two that we are aware of, Renewable Recyclables and Casella. The quote from Renewable Recyclables was considerably lower, so that's what we are moving forward with. We're looking at contract. I just haven't moved forward because I'm still waiting on this permit modification. Operations believes that, you know, within 3 months we can be up and running. It's essentially building a roof in between a couple trailers, and Renewable Recyclables will be ready to go. So we're shooting for January 1st, assuming we get a September permit modification.
And then goals, might as well keep it, goals.
Thank you.
And I just want to clarify that we are only looking at Town of Ulster site for right now. We'll look at New Paltz in the future, but right now we believe we have the bandwidth for the Town of Ulster site.
Is there any way to transport them, receive them at New Paltz and transport, or is that not possible? And I accept the answer.
Not right now. It's not a permit thing, but it's
Logistics,
Logistics.
operational logistics. Understood. No, but I ended up with transport. Logistics.
What's the impact?
As far as what do you mean as far as what impact?
We know how many mattresses we
Roughly
dispose of now.
13,000,
Sorry,
right?
okay, so.
About 9,000
and how
at
much is
Ulster
that? How
for.
many tons is that, or what percent? Is
It's
there any?
lower than you would think. I mean, the overall per ton, it's not really so much per ton. The landfills don't want them, and it's space. And they're starting to push back on having it. And if they don't have a contract like they have with us, and they're just taking in, they either don't take them like Seneca Meadows, or they have a huge upcharge on them. I don't believe we get upcharged for mattresses, right? But when I talked to Kyle, I think they're talking about like almost $100. Like, they do not want the mattresses. If you just come in and you're a resident and you can dump there, it's a high mattress fee for them because they don't want it. So
Any EPR in your state mattresses?
not that I'm aware of. Is there? It is being discussed. Okay.
So. And the next item of new business is a goals update. So.
Like we updated on goals last month on where we were in this process. So we have not prepared an additional update. I didn't know what else you wanted to.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Next month, guess what I'm gonna ask for?
Right.
Just so you know, so there's
I mean,
no
I'm happy to give a
surprise.
2-minute update because we're working through the beginning stages of the biennial update that'll be due next October. Thank you, Angie, for walking me through kind of that process because I'll be helping with it. And the goal there is to take the 2025 goals that we shared with you all that I had developed in conversations with the directors and make sure they're reconciled with our kind of master plan, which is the implementation plan in the local solid waste management plan. And so we're going through a process right now to get director updates on their 2025 tasks from the implementation plan. And I'm working to align those with the goals and the activities and KPIs that we had presented to you all. So the intent is, as we go through the biennial update, to align our performance plan and our goal setting with the implementation plan in the local solid waste management plan. And then I think it'll be easier for us to have routine updates to share with the board, to publish, through whatever means we decide to on a reporting basis on the website or publicly. So we talked with a couple vendors that have tools that are used for reporting on KPIs and performance measures. Our hope is that in the budget next year, I think it's kind of in the budget next year. I'd have to double check, but we are hoping that we'll be able to implement that during next year. So
Got to keep it going. That's
Yeah.
why I keep asking, because I think it's important.
Yeah, it's still going.
Gotta focus.
It is definitely still going.
Great. That brings us to the end of our agenda, except for executive session. And so I'd like to accept a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing a real estate transaction and seeking legal advice on a contract matter.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second, please. Okay, all right, all in favor of going into executive session for the stated purposes? Aye. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and we will take a 5-minute recess now to allow them. Make it 2 minutes. Well, all right, we'll be back as soon as people are ready. We'll be back. Just take a minute, because it's 8:30 already.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we forgot. Yeah, we need yours. Actually. No, Nancy still got to stay on, so you can leave yours up. I'm gonna stop recording.
Yeah, but Nancy, you can't get legal advice if our attorney's not on.